Picture this scene. A small business owner spends her last dollars on a beautiful ad. She waits. Nobody buys. She lowers the price. Still, nothing happens. She adds more features. Still, silence. She believes her ad was not loud enough. She believes she needs more attention. But she is wrong. And so are most of us. Marketing is not about shouting louder. It is not a clever slogan. It is not a viral post. Real marketing begins long before the first ad. It begins before the logo is even designed. It begins with one simple question. Who is this for? That one question can save a struggling business. It can turn a forgettable product into one people love. It can turn an ignored marketer into one people trust. This is the core idea inside This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. Today, we break down the ideas that matter most for your business and for your life. Stay until the end. There is one exercise that can change how you sell forever. Let's begin. Most people think marketing begins when a product is finished. They imagine that once something has been created, the next step is to advertise it, promote it, and convince as many people as possible to buy it. This view makes marketing look like a final layer placed on top of a business. The product is built first, and then clever words, attractive images, and persuasive campaigns are added afterward. But effective marketing begins much earlier. It begins before the product exists, before the logo is designed, and before the first advertisement is published. It begins with a simple but demanding question. Who is this for, and what meaningful change are we trying to create for them? This question changes everything. It shifts attention away from the seller and toward the customer. Instead of asking how to sell more, the marketer begins by asking what people truly need, what they fear, what they desire, and what kind of progress they are trying to make in their lives. Marketing then becomes less about pressure and more about service. It becomes a work of understanding people well enough to create something that matters to them. Many businesses fail because they begin with themselves. They focus on what they want to make, what they find interesting, or what they believe should succeed. After creating a product, they search for an audience and hope that enough people will care. When customers do not respond, they increase advertising, lower prices, or make louder promises. The deeper problem is often not the promotion. The problem is that the product was not designed around a clear group of people and a clear problem worth solving. Good marketing does not try to force interest where none exists. It notices existing hopes, frustrations, ambitions, and beliefs. It then creates an offer that helps a particular group move from where they are to where they want to be. This means marketing is fundamentally about change. A customer does not buy a product only because of its physical features. A person buys because they believe the product will change something. It may save time, reduce stress, increase confidence, improve status, create safety, bring comfort, or help them feel more capable. Even ordinary purchases are often connected to an emotional or social outcome. Someone buying a pair of shoes may be buying comfort, but they may also be buying confidence. Someone hiring an accountant may be buying financial accuracy, but they may also be buying relief from uncertainty. Someone subscribing to a software platform may be buying useful tools, but they may also be buying a feeling of being organized and in control. The physical product is only part of the value. The larger value is a transformation the customer hopes to experience. This is why the best marketers do not begin by listing features. They begin by understanding the outcome people want. They recognize that customers are not simply buying objects or services. They are choosing a story about who they are, what they value, and what kind of future they want. This understanding requires empathy. Empathy means accepting that other people do not see the world exactly as we do. They have different experiences, priorities, fears, and expectations. Something that seems obvious to one person may feel risky to another. Something that appears valuable to a business owner may feel unnecessary to a customer. A marketer who lacks empathy often becomes frustrated. They think customers are unreasonable, uninformed, or unwilling to recognize quality. But blaming the customer does not create trust. It only creates distance. A more useful approach is to become curious. Why does the customer hesitate? Were they afraid of losing? What previous experiences have shaped their expectations? Were they comparing this offer against? What would need to be true for them to feel safe saying yes? These questions lead to better products, clearer communication, and stronger relationships. The goal is not to manipulate people into making decisions against their interests. The goal is to help the right people understand how an offer can serve them. This requires honesty, patience, and respect. Traditional advertising often depends on interruption. A company tries to capture attention by becoming louder, more frequent, or more dramatic, but attention is limited, and people have become skilled at ignoring messages that do not feel relevant. They skip advertisements, close pop-ups, mute notifications, and scroll past content that appears designed only to sell. The solution is not necessarily to interrupt more aggressively. The solution is to become more relevant. Relevance comes from specificity. A message designed for everyone often feels personal to no one. It becomes broad, cautious, and forgettable. A message designed for a particular group can speak directly to their situation. It can use language they recognize and address problems they already care about. This is why a small or well-defined audience can be more valuable than a large, unfocused one. When a business clearly understands whom it serves, it can create something that feels almost custom-made for those people. Customers feel seen because the product reflects their priorities. They are more likely to trust it, recommend it, and remain loyal to it. Trying to reach everyone usually creates pressure to become average. The business removes anything unusual because it fears that some people may dislike it, but in avoiding criticism. It also removes the qualities that can make the work memorable. Meaningful work is rarely designed for everyone. It is designed for someone. This requires courage because focus means exclusion. Choosing one audience means accepting that others may not be interested. Choosing one position means refusing to compete on every possible promise. Choosing one meaningful problem means ignoring dozens of less important opportunities. But focus creates strength. It allows a marketer to understand a customer deeply, communicate clearly, and build trust over time. Trust is one of the most valuable assets in business. Yet it cannot be demanded. It must be earned through repeated behavior. A company builds trust when it makes promises carefully and keeps them consistently. It loses trust when it exaggerates, hides important details, or places short-term sales above long-term relationships. People do not always choose the cheapest option or the option with the most features. They often choose the option that feels safer, more familiar, and more aligned with their identity. Trust reduces uncertainty. It gives the customer confidence that the experience will match the promise. This is why marketing cannot be separated from the product itself. Every interaction communicates something. The quality of the service, the way complaints are handled, the clarity of the pricing, the tone of the website, and the behavior of employees all shape the customer's perception. Marketing is not only what a company says, it is what the company does. The strongest businesses understand that every detail contributes to the story customers tell themselves and others when an experience is consistent. People begin to believe that the organization is reliable. When an experience is confusing, customers become cautious. Even if the advertising looks impressive, real marketing is therefore a long-term commitment. It is a process of choosing whom to serve, understanding what they value, creating a meaningful solution, communicating honestly, and delivering the promise chained again and again. It is not a trick for gaining attention. It is not a collection of slogans. It is not a way to make weak products appear strong. At its best, marketing is generous. It helps people discover something useful. It makes choices easier. It connects the right solution with the right audience. It respects the customer's freedom to decide. The task ahead is to understand how this approach works in practice. It requires looking closely at people, markets, stories, trust, status, pricing, and emotional forces behind decisions. More importantly, it requires replacing the question, how can I sell this, with a better one, how can I create something worth choosing? Understanding people is the beginning of meaningful marketing. Before a business decides what to sell, how to price it, or where to promote it, it must first understand the people it hopes to serve. This sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest parts of building anything valuable because it requires a creator to stop looking at the world only through their own preferences. People do not make decisions based purely on facts. They respond to experiences, emotions, beliefs, fears, expectations, and social influences. Two people can see the same product and interpret it in completely different ways. One may see it as useful and exciting, while another may see it as unnecessary or risky. The difference is not always in the product. The difference is in the story each person brings with them. A business often assumes that customers want the same things a business owner wants. A designer may care about elegance. An engineer may care about performance. A founder may care about innovation. But the customer may simply want something easy to use, safe to choose, and reliable enough to solve a familiar problem. This gap between what the creator values and what the customer values is where many products fail. A company may build something technically impressive and still struggle to attract buyers. The creators may believe that customers do not understand the quality of the work, but customers are not required to care about what the company cares about. They are concerned with their own lives. They want to know whether the offer will help them make progress, remove frustration, save time, reduce risk, or improve how they feel. The marketer's job is not to judge these priorities. The job is to understand them. Empathy is the ability to recognize that another person's view of the world is real to them, even when it is different from our own. It does not require agreement. It requires attention. A useful marketer asks what the customer sees, what they expect, what they fear, and what they hope will happen, instead of saying, "This product is excellent, so people should buy it." The marketer asks, "What would make this product meaningful to people it's designed to serve?" That small shift changes the entire business. Imagine a company offering an online course. The company may describe the course by talking about the number of lessons, the length of the videos, the qualifications of the instructor, and the amount of information included. These details may be accurate, but they may not address the real reason someone is considering the course. The customer may not be looking for more information. They may be looking for confidence. They may be tired of feeling behind in their career. They may want a clear path through a subject that has always seemed confusing. They may want to prove to themselves that they can learn a valuable skill. The number of lessons matters less than the change the customer hopes to experience. This principle applies across industries. A restaurant is not only selling food, it may be selling comfort, convenience, celebration, belonging, or status. A financial advisor is not only selling financial knowledge, they may be selling peace of mind and a sense of control. A fitness coach is not only selling exercise plans, they may be selling accountability, identity, hope, and progress. People rarely buy only the thing itself. They buy what the thing means to them. This is why marketing must go deeper than demographics. Knowing someone's age, location, income, or job title can be useful, but it does not fully explain their behavior. Two people with similar backgrounds may want completely different outcomes. One may want security, while another wants adventure. One may care about saving money, while another cares about saving time. One may want to fit in, while another wants to stand out. The most useful questions are not only about who people are on paper, they are about what they believe, what they desire, and what they are trying to become. A customer's decision often reflects identity. People choose products that support the story they tell about themselves. Someone may choose an environmentally responsible product because they see themselves as thoughtful and responsible. Someone may buy from a small local business because they see themselves as a supporter of their community. Someone may choose a premium brand because they want to feel successful, informed, or distinctive. The choice becomes a signal, both to the buyer and others. This does not mean that customers are pretending. It means that human beings use choices to express values. Every purchase, subscription, donation, and recommendation can become part of an identity. A skilled marketer understands this and avoids reducing customers to simple transactions. Instead of asking only what people will pay for, the marketer asks what the choice helps them say about themselves. This also explains why facts alone are often not enough to persuade someone. A person may know that a certain service is cheaper, faster, or technically better, yet still choose another option. Their decision may be influenced by trust, familiarity, status, fear, habit, or the opinions of people around them. Businesses sometimes become frustrated when customers do not make what appears to be the most logical choice. But human decisions are not calculations performed in isolation. They're emotional, social, and contextual. A customer may avoid a new product because choosing it feels risky. If the product fails, they may lose money, waste time, or feel embarrassed. Remaining with a familiar option may not be ideal, but feel safer. The marketer must therefore understand the risk the customer believes they are taking. The goal is not simply to make louder claims. The goal is to reduce uncertainty through trust, evidence, consistency, and clear expectations. Trust grows when the customer feels understood. When a message accurately describes a person's problem, they pay attention. They think, "This is for someone like me." When an offer reflects their priorities, they become curious. When the experience matches the promise, trust begins to form. This process cannot be rushed. Trust is not created by a single advertisement. It is created through repeated contact and reliable behavior. A business earns trust when it tells the truth, even when exaggeration might produce a quick sale. It earns trust when it admits who the product is not for. It earns trust when it solves problems instead of hiding them. It earns trust when customers feel that the company respects their time, intelligence, and freedom. The desire to reach more people can make businesses vague. They remove specific language because they do not want anyone to feel excluded. They try to appeal to every age, every personality, and every type of buyer. The result is often a message that feels safe but meaningless. Broad messages rarely create strong connections. When a business says its product is for everyone, people may struggle to understand why it is especially relevant to them. The promise becomes weak because it is not built around a particular situation. Specificity is more powerful. A service designed for first-time business owners can speak directly to their uncertainty. A product designed for busy parents can focus on simplicity and time. A program designed for experienced professionals can assume a higher level of knowledge. By choosing a clear group, the business can become more useful. This leads to one of the most important strategic decisions in marketing: choosing the smallest group of people who can support the work. Many creators dream of reaching millions. Large audiences seem to promise influence, revenue, and security. But beginning with the largest possible market often creates confusion. The business tries to satisfy too many people with different needs, expectations, and beliefs. A better approach is to begin with the smallest viable audience. This does not mean thinking small forever. It means becoming useful to a specific group. Before trying to become known by everyone, the smallest viable audience is the minimum number of people who need the work enough to make it sustainable. These are the people who understand the problem, value the solution, and are willing to support it. They are not simply random customers. They are the people most likely to care deeply. Focusing on them creates several advantages. First, it allows a business to develop a clear promise. Instead of trying to solve every problem, it can solve one meaningful problem extremely well. Second, it makes communication easier. The language can be specific because the audience shares similar concerns. Third, it creates the possibility of loyalty. When people feel that something was created for them, they are more likely to become connected to it. Finally, a focused audience can help the idea spread. People talk about products that feel remarkable within their community. They recommend solutions that make them look helpful, informed, or generous. A business does not need everyone to care. It needs the right people to care enough. Consider a new restaurant. If the owner tries to appeal to every possible customer, the menu may become enormous. It may include many cuisines, price levels, and dining experiences. The restaurant may avoid having a clear identity because it fears losing anyone. But in trying to serve everyone, it may become memorable to no one. A focused restaurant might instead serve a particular type of food to a particular kind of customer. It may become the place people recommend for a specific occasion. Some people will not be interested, but those who are interested may care deeply. Being rejected by the wrong audience is not necessarily failure. It can be evidence of focus. The fear of exclusion is powerful. Businesses often worry that choosing one group means losing opportunities, but every meaningful choice excludes something. A low-cost product may exclude buyers seeking luxury. A premium product may exclude price-sensitive customers. A complex tool may exclude beginners. A simple tool may exclude advanced users. The attempt to avoid exclusion usually creates compromise. A product that tries to be cheap, premium, simple, advanced, exclusive, and universal at the same time will struggle to communicate what it is. Clarity requires trade-offs. The marketer must decide what kind of change a product offers, who wants that change, and what the business is willing to ignore. These decisions create position. Positioning is not merely a slogan. It is a place an idea occupies in a customer's mind. It is defined by comparison. Customers understand an offer by comparing it with alternatives. They ask whether it's faster or slower, cheaper or more expensive, safer or more adventurous, familiar or new, simple or advanced. A business cannot own every position. It must choose. This choice should be based on what the intended audience values. A company may want to describe itself as innovative, but customers may care more about reliability. Another company may believe low price is its greatest advantage, while its best customers may value personal service. Marketing requires listening closely enough to understand what matters. This listening does not mean asking customers to design the product. People are often better describing their frustrations than imagining entirely new solutions. The marketer's responsibility is to notice patterns, understand unmet needs, and create a useful response. The goal is not to satisfy every request. The goal is to serve the audience's deeper interest. A customer may ask for more features, but the deeper need may be control. Another may ask for a lower price, but the real problem may be uncertainty about value. Someone may say they want convenience when what they truly want is less stress. Empathy helps the business see beyond the surface request. Once the audience is clear, the business can ask a more demanding question. What change are these people seeking? Change may be practical. A customer may want to complete a task faster or reduce costs. It may also be emotional. They may want to feel confident, respected, safe, or connected. The strongest offers often address both. A productivity tool may help someone organize tasks, but its emotional promise may be relief from chaos. A professional service may improve results, but its deeper promise may be credibility. A learning platform may provide knowledge, but its real value may be helping the customer feel capable. The marketer must be able to describe the change clearly. If the promised change is vague, the customer has difficulty deciding. Statements like better quality or excellent service are too general because almost every company says them. A meaningful promise describes a specific difference in the customer's life. This does not require exaggerated claims. In fact, exaggeration weakens trust. The promise should be ambitious enough to matter and honest enough to believe. The business must then create an experience that supports that promise. Marketing fails when communication and reality separate. A company may promise simplicity while offering a confusing process. It may promise personal service while treating customers like numbers. It may promise premium quality while cutting costs in visible ways. Customers notice contradictions. Every part of the experience tells a story. The website, packaging, onboarding, customer support, pricing, follow-up, and product quality all communicate what the business values. When these elements are consistent, the customer understands the position. When they conflict, trust disappears. This is why marketing is not only the responsibility of an advertising department. Everyone who shapes the customer's experience participates in marketing. A delayed response communicates something. A difficult refund process communicates something. A thoughtful welcome message communicates something. A product that works exactly as promised communicates something. Actions are often more persuasive than words. Serving a small audience makes consistency easier because the business can design around known expectations. It can learn how the audience speaks, what they fear, and what causes hesitation. It can improve the product based on meaningful feedback rather than random opinions. Not all feedback has equal value. A person who would never buy the product may dislike its price, design, or message. That opinion may be sincere, but it may not be strategically useful. Changing the product to satisfy people outside the intended audience can weaken its value for the people it's designed to serve. The important question is not, does everyone approve? It is, does this serve the people we chose? That question requires discipline. The internet makes it easy to chase attention. Views, likes, clicks, and followers create the impression of progress. But attention without trust may not build a sustainable business. A large audience that does not care is often less valuable than a small audience that believes in the work. The smallest viable audience provides a more useful measure of success. Are the right people paying attention? Are they receiving value? Are they returning? Are they recommending the work to others? These signals reveal whether the business is creating genuine connection. Word of mouth becomes powerful when people feel proud to share something. A recommendation is not only about the product, it also affects the person making the recommendation. People share things that support their identity and relationships. Someone recommends a useful service because they want to help a friend. They share a brand because it reflects their values. They talk about an experience because it makes them appear informed, thoughtful, or connected. For an idea to spread, it must give people a reason to talk. Average products rarely create conversation. They may work, but they do not create enough emotional energy to be shared. Remarkable work gives people a story worth repeating. Remarkable does not always mean dramatic or expensive. It means worth making a remark about. It may be unusually simple, thoughtful, generous, specific, fast, personal, or reliable. The quality that makes it remarkable depends on the audience. A business serving busy professionals may be remarkable because it eliminates unnecessary steps. A service for beginners may be remarkable because it explains difficult ideas without judgment. A premium product may be remarkable because every detail feels carefully considered. The business should not ask how to impress everyone. It should ask what would feel remarkable to the people it serves. This is another reason empathy matters. Without understanding the audience, the business may invest in features customers do not value. It may add complexity when people want simplicity. It may lower the price when customers want confidence. It may increase promotion when the real issue is trust. A better product begins with a better understanding of the customer's worldview. A worldview is a collection of beliefs, assumptions, experiences, and expectations through which a person interprets events. It shapes what they notice and what they ignore. Someone who has been disappointed by similar services may be skeptical. Someone new to a category may feel confused. Someone with strong expertise may quickly notice weak claims. Someone under pressure may value speed more than perfection. The same message will not work for all of them. Effective communication begins by entering the conversation already happening in the customer's mind. It acknowledges what the person believes before trying to introduce a new possibility. This does not mean pretending or saying whatever people want to hear. It means respecting where they are starting from. A marketer cannot create desire from nothing, but they can connect an existing desire with a useful path forward. People already want progress, recognition, belonging, safety, freedom, and meaning. Marketing helps them see how a particular choice may support one of those goals. This process is strongest when it's honest. The marketer should not promise a transformation the product cannot deliver. Manipulation may produce a transaction, but it damages a possibility of a relationship. Long-term marketing depends on keeping promises. The smallest viable audience gives a business a group to whom it can make a meaningful promise. The promise does not need to be universal. It only needs to matter deeply to those people. Once that promise is kept consistently, the business gains something more valuable than temporary attention. It gains trust. Trust creates patience. Customers become willing to listen to new ideas. It creates forgiveness when honest mistakes occur. It lowers uncertainty and makes future choices easier. Most importantly, trust allows a business to create change without relying on pressure. The marketer no longer needs to chase strangers constantly. The work begins to spread through relationship for reputation and share experience. This is a foundation of sustainable marketing. Understand people with empathy. Choose a group worth serving. Create a meaningful change for them, and keep the promise long enough for trust to grow. The work does not begin with a question of how many people can be reached. It begins with the question of who deserves to be served well. When that question is answered clearly, marketing becomes less confusing. The product becomes more focused. The message becomes more relevant. And the customer becomes more than a target. They become a person whose progress matters. Once a business understands whom it wants to serve and what kind of change those people are seeking, the next challenge is to become clearly understood. A useful product can still fail if customers do not know where it fits, why it matters, or how it is different from the alternatives already available to them. People do not evaluate every option from the beginning. They do not study the entire market with perfect attention and compare every feature objectively. Instead, they use shortcuts. They place product into categories, connect them with familiar ideas, and decide whether something feels appropriate for a person like them. This is why positioning matters. Positioning is a deliberate choice of what a product should mean in the mind of the customer. It answers questions such as, Is this the simple option or the advanced one? Is it designed for beginners or experts? Is it economical or premium? Is it safe and familiar or new and adventurous? Is it for people seeking convenience, status, control, creativity, speed, or peace of mind? A business cannot successfully represent every possible quality at once. Try and be the cheapest, most luxurious, simplest, most advanced, safest, and most innovative choice creates confusion. Customers need a clear reason to understand and remember an offer. The marketer therefore has to choose. This choice is not merely about words. A company cannot call itself premium while delivering a careless experience. It cannot promise simplicity while making customers struggle through complex forms, unclear pricing, and confusing instructions. It cannot claim to be personal while responding to everyone with cold and automated communication. Positioning must be reflected in the entire experience. Every decision contributes to the customer's interpretation. The design of the product, the tone of the language, the speed of support, the payment process, the packaging, the location, and the price all send signals. These signals combine into a story. Customers are constantly interpreting these signals, even when they are not consciously analyzing them. A low price may communicate affordability, but it can also create doubt about quality. A high price may communicate confidence and exclusivity, but it may also raise expectations. A simple design may feel clear and modern to one group, while another group may interpret it as basic or incomplete. There is no neutral presentation. Every choice creates meaning. The important question is whether the meaning supports the change the customer wants. Suppose a business offers professional financial planning to people who feel overwhelmed by money. If the website is filled with technical language, complicated charts, and aggressive claims, the experience may increase the anxiety the service is supposed to reduce. Even if the advisors are highly qualified, the positioning conflicts with the customer's emotional need. A service designed around calm, clarity, and control would communicate differently. It would explain the process in plain language. It would make the first step feel manageable. It would show customers what to expect and reduce the fear of being judged. The service would not only provide financial advice, it would signal that confusion can be replaced by confidence. This is the power of thoughtful positioning. It helps customers recognize an offer was designed for their situation. Positioning also requires understanding the alternatives. Customers do not compare a product only with direct competitors. They compare it with every other choice available to them, including doing nothing. A person considering a course may compare it with free online videos, a university program, private coaching, a book, or simply delaying the decision. A business considering new software may compare it with another platform, a spreadsheet, a manual process, or continue with the current system. The marketer must understand what the customer is already doing and why. Doing nothing is often more attractive than businesses realize. It feels familiar, requires no immediate expense, and protects the customer from the risk of making a bad decision, even when the current situation is frustrating. Change creates uncertainty. The business must therefore do more than prove that its product is good. It must help the customer understand why taking action is worthwhile. This does not mean using fear to pressure people. It means making the cost of the current problem visible and making proposed change feel credible. A customer needs to see the gap between where they are and where they want to be. They also need to believe that the offer can help them cross that gap. Facts can support this belief, but facts alone are rarely enough. People understand the world through stories. A story gives information a structure. It explains what is happening, why it matters, who belongs, and what might happen next. Businesses tell stories through their words, but they also tell stories through their choices. A luxury hotel tells a story through quiet spaces, careful service, and attention to detail. A discount retailer tells a different story through practical presentation, frequent offers, and visible savings. Neither story is automatically better. Each is designed around a different promise. The mistake is telling one story and delivering another. When the story and the experience agree, customers know what to expect. When they conflict, trust declines. Stories are powerful because people do not only want solutions, they want solutions that fit their worldview. They want to believe that choosing a product makes sense for someone like them. A person may choose a small independent brand because the story of craftsmanship matters to them. Another may choose a large established company because reliability and scale feel safer. One customer may prefer a new technology because they value progress. Another may prefer a traditional approach because they value stability. The same product feature can be framed differently depending on the audience. Automation can be described as speed and efficiency, or it can be described as reducing repetitive work, so people can focus on more meaningful tasks. A premium price can be presented as exclusivity, or it can be explained as a cost of durability, careful service, and lower long-term risk. The story should not hide the truth. It should organize the truth in a way that connects with the audience's priorities. This distinction is essential. Ethical marketing does not invent value that does not exist. It reveals relevant value to the people who will benefit from it. A story becomes manipulative when it creates false expectations, hides important facts, or uses emotional pressure to push someone toward a harmful choice. It becomes useful when it helps a customer understand a genuine possibility. The strongest stories are consistent, specific, and easy to repeat. If customers cannot explain why a product matters, they will struggle to recommend it. A clear story gives them language they can share. It allows them to tell a friend, colleague, or family member who the product is for and what it helps them accomplish. This matters because people trust other people more than they trust advertising. A company can make claims about itself, but recommendations carry a different kind of credibility. When someone recommends a product, they place part of their own reputation behind it. They are saying that this choice is worth another person's attention. For that recommendation to happen, the experience must give them a story worth telling. Sometimes the story comes from exceptional service. Sometimes it comes from surprising simplicity, thoughtful design, a clear point of view, or feeling of belonging. The product does not need to be outrageous. It needs to be distinct enough to create meaning. A business that tries to offend no one often creates nothing worth discussing. It becomes average because average feels safe. But average is difficult to remember. Being specific creates the possibility of both attraction and rejection. Some people will say that the product is not for them, doesn't feel uncomfortable, but it is a natural result of clear positioning. A meaningful promise cannot be equally important to everyone. The marketer's goal is not universal approval. The goal is resonance with the chosen audience. Resonance occurs when the customer feels that the offer understands their situation and reflects their values. This often requires speaking in the language the audience already uses. Customers have words for their frustrations, ambitions, and fears. A thoughtful marketer listens for those words instead of forcing unfamiliar language onto them. The message should feel clear, not clever. It should reduce confusion rather than display the intelligence of the person writing it. Many marketing messages fail because they focus on the company. They describe the company's history, technology, achievements, and ambitions. But customers are usually asking a different question. What does this mean for me? The story should place the customer's desired change at the center. The business is not the hero of the customer's life. It is a guide, a tool, or a partner. Its role is to help the customer move forward. This perspective changes communication. Instead of saying, "Look at how impressive we are," the business says, "We understand where you're trying to go, and here is how we can help." The difference may appear small, but it changes a relationship from performance to service. Once a clear story has been created, it must be repeated consistently. Businesses often grow tired of their message long before customers have fully understood it. The team has heard the promise hundreds of times, so they assume the market is also tired of it. They change the language, redesign the identity, or introduce a new position. But most customers are not paying close attention. They see only a fraction of the communication. Consistency gives an idea time to become familiar. Familiarity reduces uncertainty. When people repeatedly encounter the same promise, supported by the same behavior, they begin to know what the business stands for. This is not the same as repeating empty slogans. Consistency means keeping the central promise while proving it through different experiences. A business that promises reliability demonstrates it through punctual delivery, stable quality, honest communication, and responsible problem solving. A business that promises simplicity demonstrates it through clear design, easy decisions, and reduced effort. The message gains strength when reality keeps confirming it. Over time, this consistency builds trust. Trust is not a feeling that can be demanded through confident language. It is a result of expectations being met. Each interaction either strengthens or weakens it. When a business makes a small promise and keeps it, the customer becomes more willing to believe a larger promise. When the business repeatedly creates positive experiences, the customer begins to expect reliability. This is why trust compounds. The first purchase may require significant effort. The customer has limited knowledge and must evaluate the risk. The second purchase may be easier because the business has already proved itself. Over time, the relationship reduces the need for constant persuasion. The customer no longer asks whether the company is capable of delivering. They already have evidence. This makes trust a major business advantage. Competitors may copy features, prices, or marketing language, but trust is more difficult to copy because it is built through history. A reputation is the memory of repeated behavior. It is built slowly and can be damaged quickly. A company may spend years creating confidence and then weaken it through one dishonest decision. This does not mean mistakes are never allowed. Customers often forgive errors when a business responds openly and responsibly. The real damage comes from avoidance, deception, and disrespect. When something goes wrong, the response becomes part of the marketing. A company that admits a problem, communicates clearly, and works to make things right may strengthen trust. A company that hides, blames a customer, or creates unnecessary obstacles may lose a relationship permanently. Marketing is therefore not limited to attracting new customers. It includes the way existing customers are treated after the sale. Many businesses devote most of their energy to acquisition. They spend money reaching strangers while neglecting the people who have already chosen them. But existing customers are often the most valuable source of future growth. They can return, upgrade, renew, and recommend. More importantly, they can become evidence that the promise is real. Treating the sale as the end of the relationship wastes this opportunity. The sale should be viewed as the beginning of a commitment. Once the customer has trusted the business enough to buy, the business must justify that trust. This approach is different from interruption-based marketing. Interruption marketing tries to capture attention whenever possible. It places messages in front of people who may not be interested and hopes that repetition will produce action. The problem is that attention is scarce. People are surrounded by messages, notifications, promotions, and requests. They protect themselves by ignoring most of them. Interruptions may produce visibility, but visibility is not the same as trust. A more sustainable approach is to earn permission. Permission means that a person voluntarily agrees to hear from the business again. They subscribe, follow, register, join, or request information because they expect value. This changes a relationship. Instead of forcing attention, the business receives an invitation to continue the conversation. That invitation must be respected. Permission is not a license to send unlimited promotions. It is a promise that future communication will be relevant and useful. When a business abuses permission, people unsubscribe, ignore the messages, or stop trusting the sender. The value of permission depends on anticipation, personal relevance, and consistency. People should expect the communication and believe it will help them. A useful newsletter, educational series, customer community, or a thoughtful update can strengthen the relationship. Constant pressure and repetitive sales messages weaken it. Permission-based marketing requires patience because it focuses on long-term connection rather than immediate reach. A business may attract fewer people at first, but those people have chosen to pay attention. Their attention is more meaningful because it is based on interest rather than interruption. This is similar to the difference between shouting in a crowded room and speaking to a group that has gathered to listen. The first may be louder. The second is more powerful. Permission also allows the business to learn through continued communication. It can understand what customers care about, where they struggle, and what questions remain unanswered. The relationship becomes a source of insight instead of guessing what the market wants. The business can observe responses, conversations, and patterns. It can improve the product while deepening trust. This learning should not become surveillance or manipulation. Respect remains essential. Customers should understand what they are agreeing to, and their attention should be treated as something valuable. Every message spends a small amount of trust. If the message is useful, the trust may increase. If it wastes time, the trust decreases. If it misleads, the relationship may end. This creates discipline. The marketer must ask whether the communication deserves the customer's attention. A useful test is whether the person would notice if the message stopped. Would they miss the insight, support, entertainment, or connection, or would they feel relieved? If people would not miss the communication, the business has not yet earned a meaningful place in their lives. The strongest permission relationships create a sense of belonging. Customers do not only receive information, they become part of a group organized around shared values, goals, or interests. This is where the idea that people like us do things like this becomes especially powerful. Human behavior is influenced by social identity. People observe what others in their group choose, recommend, avoid, and celebrate. They do not make every decision alone. They look for signals about what is normal, respected, and appropriate. A brand can become one of those signals. When people feel that a product is chosen by others like them, uncertainty decreases. The purchase becomes part of belonging. It confirms an identity. This is not about creating artificial pressure. It is about understanding that communities shape behavior. A successful marketer does not simply sell individual products. They may help create a group of people who share a particular way of thinking or acting. An educational platform might create a community of disciplined learners. A financial service might bring together people who value simplicity and long-term security. A business tool might attract independent professionals who want control over their work. The product becomes a symbol of the group's values. This sense of belonging can be far more powerful than traditional advertising because members reinforce the story for one another. They share experiences, answer questions, and show newcomers what participation looks like. The marketer's role is to support the community rather than control it. A community becomes strong when members receive value from one another, not only from the company. The business can create the conditions, language, rituals, and spaces that help the connection grow, but the community must be based on something real. A logo and a slogan are not enough. People need a meaningful reason to identify with the group. The shared belief might involve craftsmanship, independence, sustainability, learning, generosity, creativity, or professional excellence. Whatever the belief is, the business must live it consistently. When behavior contradicts the stated values, the community notices. Trust cannot be separated from alignment. This is why businesses should be careful about the promises they choose. A promise creates expectations, and expectations create responsibility. It is tempting to make the largest possible claim because bold promises attract attention. But if the business cannot deliver, the short-term gain creates long-term damage. A smaller, believable promise kept consistently is more valuable than a dramatic promise repeatedly broken. Marketing is not about creating the appearance of value. It is about helping value become visible and dependable. The work begins with empathy, becomes clear through positioning, gains emotional meaning through story, and grows through trust. Permission then gives a business the opportunity to continue serving the audience without constantly fighting for attention. These elements support one another. Clear positioning helps the right people recognize the offer. A relevant story helps them understand why it matters. A consistent experience proves the story. Trust makes future engagement easier. Permission allows a relationship to deepen. None of this depends on reaching everyone. It depends on creating a promise that matters to a specific group and keeping that promise long enough for people to believe it. The marketer who understands this stops chasing attention as the main goal. Attention becomes only the beginning. What matters is what happens after attention is gained. Does a person feel understood? Does the offer fit their worldview? Does the experience delivered a promise change? Does the communication earn the right to continue? These questions move marketing away from pressure and toward responsibility. A business succeeds not because it can make the most noise, but because it can become meaningful to the people it has chosen to serve. Meaning creates memory. Consistency creates confidence. Permission creates connection. And connection creates the possibility of lasting change. People do not make choices only to solve practical problems. They also make choices to protect, improve, or express their sense of status. This does not always mean wealth, popularity, or public recognition. Status can be subtle. It can mean feeling respected within a small group, appearing responsible to family members, being seen as knowledgeable by colleagues, or simply believing that one is making the kind of decision a thoughtful person would make. This matters because many buying decisions are shaped by how people believe the choice will affect their position in relation to others. A person may choose a premium product because it signals success. Another may deliberately avoid expensive brands because simplicity and restraint are more respected in their community. One customer may want to stand out, while another wants reassurance that they are making the same sensible choice as people like them. The desire is not always to move upward. Sometimes the goal is to protect an existing identity. A professional may hesitate to adopt a new tool because using it could make them feel inexperienced. A customer may avoid asking basic questions because they fear looking uninformed. A business owner may reject a helpful service because accepting help feels like admitting weakness. In these situations, the practical value of the offer is not the only issue. The customer is also managing emotional and social risk. A thoughtful marketer understands that change often creates tension. Tension is the uncomfortable gap between the current situation and a possible future. It appears when people want progress but fear the uncertainty that comes with it. A customer may want better results while worrying about making the wrong choice. They may want independence but fear losing stability. They may want to learn something new but dislike the feeling of being a beginner. This tension cannot always be removed. In many cases, it is part of what makes change possible. The marketer's role is not to create panic or manipulate fear. It is to help the customer see that remaining unchanged also has consequences. A useful offer makes a desired future clearer while reducing unnecessary uncertainty about the path. Consider someone who knows they need to improve their financial habits. The current situation may be stressful, but it is familiar. Creating a budget, reviewing debt, or changing spending patterns may initially feel uncomfortable. The person must confront decisions they have avoided. A responsible financial service does not shame them. It acknowledges a discomfort, offers the manageable first step, and helps them imagine the relief that greater control could create. The tension remains, but becomes productive. Good marketing often works by helping people move through this tension with dignity. It does not make them feel foolish for waiting or weak for feeling uncertain. It gives them a story in which taking action is consistent with the kind of person they want to be. This is where status and identity become closely connected. People are more likely to choose an action when it supports a valued identity. A message that says, in effect, responsible people take control before a problem becomes worse, may be more persuasive than a list of technical features. It connects a decision with self-respect. However, this must be handled carefully. A marketer can easily cross the line from encouragement into shame. Shame may create immediate action, but it damages trust. It suggests that the customer is inadequate unless they buy. A more generous approach respects the person's current position, while showing them a credible path forward. The customer should feel invited, not attacked. Status also operates differently across groups. What is admired in one community may be rejected in another. Visible luxury may create prestige in one setting and embarrassment in another. Risk-taking may be celebrated among entrepreneurs but viewed as irresponsible in a more cautious environment. This is why marketers must avoid assuming that everyone wants the same kind of recognition. The important question is not simply, how can this product increase status? It is, what does status mean to this particular audience? For some people, status means exclusivity. For others, it means wisdom, generosity, independence, discipline, creativity, or belonging. A brand becomes stronger when it understands the exact form of recognition its audience values. The same principle applies to business customers. A manager may purchase software not only because it saves time, but because choosing it makes them appear competent. A company may hire a respected consultant partly because the decision feels defensible to investors or senior leaders. In these cases, the buyer is asking two questions. Will this work? And will choosing it make sense to the people whose opinions matter? Reducing social risk is therefore an important part of marketing. Evidence, testimonials, case studies, guarantees, and clear expectations can all help, but the evidence must match the audience. A beginner may be persuaded by stories of people who started from a similar position. An expert may care more about technical detail and credible results. The proof becomes powerful when customers can see themselves in it. People also look for signals from others when they're uncertain. They observe what their peers choose and use those choices as guidance. This is why communities, recommendations, and visible adoption can influence behavior so strongly. But social proof should not be manufactured. False popularity may produce short-term attention, yet it destroys credibility when discovered. Real trust grows from real people receiving real value. The most sustainable approach is to create an experience customers are proud to associate with. When the product helps them become who they want to be, sharing it feels natural. They are not promoting the business as a favor. They are expressing something about themselves. This is the deeper connection between marketing and status. A product succeeds when it helps people make progress not only in what they do, but also in how they see themselves and how they wish to be seen. The marketer must therefore pay attention to the emotional cost of every decision being requested. How much uncertainty does a customer feel? What identity might feel threatened? Whose approval matters? What would make the action feel safe, respectable, and consistent with their values? These questions lead to better communication and better products. A business that understands tension does not rush people unnecessarily. It creates a clear path. A business that understands status does not assume everyone wants attention. It recognizes a specific kind of belonging or recognition the audience seeks. When both are understood, marketing becomes more humane. The customer is no longer treated as a machine responding to discounts, urgency, and features. They are understood as a person trying to make progress while protecting their identity, relationships, and sense of dignity. The best marketing helps them move forward without asking them to become someone they do not want to be. Price is one of the strongest signals in marketing because it communicates far more than cost. It tells customers something about quality, confidence, audience status, and expectations. A price is never just a number. It is part of the story surrounding the offer. Many businesses treat pricing as a calculation. They add to cost of production, include a margin, examine competitors, and choose a number that seems reasonable. These factors matter, but customers do not experience price as an accounting decision. They experience it as a judgment about value. A low price may make an offer accessible, but it may also create doubt. Customers may wonder whether quality has been reduced, whether support will be limited, or whether the product is intended for people who care mainly about saving money. A high price may create resistance, but it can also suggest expertise, care scarcity, or more complete experience. Neither low pricing nor high pricing is automatically correct. The right choice depends on the audience, the promise, and the change being offered. A business must decide what kind of customer it hopes to attract and what kind of relationship it wants to create. A product designed for a mass audience may depend on low prices and large volume. A specialized service may need higher prices because it requires personal attention, expertise, and limited capacity. Problems begin when the price and the positioning conflict. A company cannot promise a deeply personalized experience while charging so little that personalized service becomes impossible. It cannot claim premium quality while constantly offering discounts. It cannot build trust around fairness while hiding fees and creating surprise charges. Price must support the promise. Customers also judge price through comparison. They rarely decide whether something is expensive in isolation. They compare alternatives with previous experiences, with the cost of doing nothing and with the outcome they hope to receive. A training program may appear expensive when compared with a book, but inexpensive when compared with years of poor performance. A professional service may seem costly when compared with doing the work alone, but reasonable when compared with the time, risk, and frustration it removes. The marketer's responsibility is to help the customer understand the comparison that matters. This does not mean forcing people to accept a price they cannot afford. It means explaining value clearly enough that the customer can make an informed decision. Weak marketing often depends on discounts because a business has not created a strong enough reason to choose the offer at full price. Reducing the price may create short-term sales, but frequent discounting changes customer behavior. People begin to wait. They learn that the stated price is temporary and that patience will be rewarded. The business then becomes trapped. It must continue offering discounts to produce demand. This is especially dangerous when the product is supposed to represent quality, confidence, or exclusivity. Constant price reductions tell a different story. They suggest uncertainty and weaken trust. A better approach is to create enough value that the price feels connected to the result. Value does not come only from adding more features. More features can create complexity and make the experience worse. Value may come from better guidance, greater reliability, easier use, faster service, lower risk, clearer communication, or a stronger sense of belonging. The most valuable improvement is often the one that matters most to the chosen audience. A customer who values time may pay more for speed. A customer who values certainty may pay more for a guarantee. A customer who values status may pay more for exclusivity. A customer who values support may pay more for access to a real person. The marketer must understand which form of value is most important. This is why pricing cannot be separated from empathy without understanding the audience. A business may improve things that customers do not care about and ignore the things that would justify a higher price. A company may invest in impressive technology, while customers simply want faster help. It may add expensive packaging when customers care more about durability. It may lower prices when the real problem is that the offer feels confusing or risky. Pricing becomes clearer when a desired change is clear. A useful question is not, how much will people pay? But, what is this change worth to the people we serve? The answer will differ across audiences. For one person, a solution may be convenient but unnecessary. For another, the same solution may remove a serious problem. The value is not located only in the product. It is created in the relationship between the product and the customer situation. This also explains why the same object can be sold at different prices in different contexts. A bottle of water has one value in a supermarket and another during a long journey with no nearby source. The physical item is the same, but the situation changes its meaning. Marketing helps create and explain context. Ethical pricing requires honesty about that context. It should not exploit desperation or confusion. It should allow the business to serve customers sustainably while giving them a result worth more than what they paid. A sustainable price benefits both sides. The customer receives meaningful value, and the business earns enough to continue improving and delivering the promise. Charging too little can be as harmful as charging too much. When a business underprices its work, it may become exhausted, reduce quality, or disappear. Customers who depended on it then lose a service. Generosity does not always mean being cheap. Sometimes generosity means building a business strong enough to remain reliable. This requires confidence. Many creators feel uncomfortable charging for their work because they connect price with selfishness. But charging is part of making the work possible. A fair exchange allows a creator to invest time, attention, and care. The question is whether the price is connected to real value and whether the promise is honestly delivered. When that condition is met, pricing becomes part of service rather than a contradiction to it. A clear price also reduces confusion. Hidden costs, complicated packages, and unclear conditions create anxiety. Customers may assume the worst when they do not understand what they will pay. Transparency builds trust because it respects the customer's need to decide. The same principle applies to premium pricing. A high price must be supported by a complete experience. Customers paying more expect consistency, attention, and confidence. Every week detail becomes more visible because the expectation is higher. Premium does not simply mean expensive. It means that the experience justifies the promise. If a business chooses premium positioning, it must be willing to say no to volume when volume would reduce quality. It must protect the details that make the experience special. This may require serving fewer customers, providing more attention, and maintaining stronger standards. The decision should not be based on ego. It should be based on the kind of change a business wants to deliver. Pricing is therefore strategic. It determines who enters, what they expect, and what the business can afford to provide. A thoughtful marketer uses price to create alignment. The customer understands what kind of experience they are choosing. The business receives the resources needed to deliver it. The promise and reality remain connected. When price is treated only as a method of increasing sales, the relationship becomes unstable. When it is treated as part of the story, it can strengthen clarity and trust. Value is not created by the number itself. It is created by the usefulness of the change and the confidence that the change will be delivered. The strongest price is not necessarily the lowest or the highest. It is the one that makes the right promise to the right audience and allows that promise to be kept. Marketing also requires leadership because meaningful change rarely happens automatically. People are often attached to familiar habits, familiar products, and familiar ways of thinking. Even when a new option is better, it may be ignored because changing feels difficult. A marketer who wants to create change must therefore do more than describe a product. They must help people see a different future and believe that moving toward it is possible. This is a form of leadership. Leadership does not always mean managing a large organization or holding an official title. It means taking responsibility for a direction and inviting others to move toward it. A leader says that the current situation can be improved. They identify a group of people who care about that improvement and help organize them around a shared belief. This is what strong marketing often does. It gives people language for a frustration they already feel. It shows them that they are not alone. It offers a path that allows them to act in a way consistent with their values. The marketer is not forcing change. They are making change understandable and accessible. This requires courage because new ideas are uncertain. There's no guarantee that people will respond. The creator may face criticism, rejection, or silence. The temptation is to copy what already works. Imitation feels safe because there is evidence of demand if a certain product, message, or business model has succeeded. Repeating it appears less risky, but copying usually leads to competition on small differences. The business becomes another version of something customers already know. Without a clear point of view, it becomes difficult to create loyalty. Customers compare price, convenience, and minor features because there is no deeper reason to choose. Innovation does not always require inventing something completely new. It may involve serving a neglected audience, combining familiar ideas differently, removing unnecessary complexity, or changing the experience surrounding an existing product. What matters is that the work offers a meaningful distinction. The distinction should matter to the smallest viable audience. A feature that impresses a creator but does not improve the customer's experience is not useful innovation. A difference becomes valuable when it helps the audience achieve the change they want. This is why innovation begins with empathy rather than technology. A business can use advanced tools and still create something irrelevant. Another can use simple methods and create an experience people deeply value. The key question remains, what problems we're solving for these people? Once that problem is understood, the marketer must be willing to take responsibility for a solution. Responsibility means more than producing the product. It means understanding the possible consequences of the work. A product changes behavior. A message changes expectations. A platform changes relationships. A price changes who can participate. Marketers cannot avoid responsibility by saying that customers are free to choose. Choice matters, but the design of the offer also influences what people see, feel, and do. Ethical leadership requires awareness of that influence. The marketer must ask whether the change being created is beneficial. Does the product help customers make progress? Or does it depend on keeping them insecure? Does a message increase clarity? Or does it create confusion? Does the business earn trust? Or does it exploit attention? These questions are not separate from strategy. In the long term, harmful marketing weakens a relationship and damages reputation. Responsible marketing is more sustainable because it creates customers who are glad they chose. The goal is not merely to produce a transaction. It is to create a result that the customer would willingly recommend. This requires patience. Leadership often involves serving people before they fully understand the value of the new direction. A new category may need explanation. A different approach may need proof. A community may need time to form. The business must continue showing up. Consistency signals commitment. It tells the audience that the idea is not temporary. It gives people time to observe, learn, and decide. Many projects fail because the creator expects immediate response. When attention does not arrive quickly, they change direction, abandon the message, or assume the idea has no value. But trust and change often move slowly. A customer may need several encounters before acting. They may need to hear the idea from multiple people. They may need to see someone like them succeed first. The marketer's job is to create enough clear and consistent evidence of the idea to become believable. This does not mean refusing to learn. Persistence without attention can become stubbornness. A responsible leader watches how the audience responds and adjusts the method while protecting the central purpose. The distinction is important. The mission may remain stable while the product changes. The desired change may remain clear while the message becomes simpler. The audience may remain the same while the delivery improves. Leadership requires both commitment and flexibility. It also requires accepting that not everyone will follow. A strong point of view creates disagreement. Some people will prefer the old way. Others will reject the values behind the offer. Trying to eliminate all criticism can remove the clarity that made the idea meaningful. The marketer must be willing to disappoint people outside the chosen audience. This is not an excuse for arrogance. It is a recognition that serving one group deeply often requires making choices that do not appeal to another. A business that chooses simplicity may disappoint customers who want endless customization. A company that prioritizes craftsmanship may disappoint those who want the lowest price. A service built around personal attention may disappoint those who want instant scale. These are not necessarily failures. They are consequences of position. Leadership means knowing which promises to protect. The creator must decide what the work stands for and what it refuses to become. Without boundaries, pressure from the market can slowly remove everything distinctive. Every customer request feels important, but responding to all requests can weaken the product. Every growth opportunity feels attractive, but some opportunities move the business away from the audience it was built to serve. Saying no is part leadership. It protects focus, quality, and trust. This becomes especially important as the business grows. Growth increases opportunities, but also increases the risk of losing connection with the original audience. The company may begin serving larger customers, adding more features, or changing its message to attract a broader market. These choices may be financially useful, but they can also change the story. There is nothing wrong with growth, but growth should not be treated as the only definition of success. A business can become larger while becoming less meaningful. It can reach more people while creating weaker relationships. It can increase revenue while damaging the experience that built its reputation. The more useful question is whether growth improves the ability to create the promised change. If growth allows better service, stronger products, and wider access without destroying trust, it may be valuable. If it produces complexity, carelessness, and distance, it may not be worth the cost. Leadership requires choosing the right kind of growth. Sometimes a responsible decision is to remain focused and small. A business serving a limited market can still be successful if it is sustainable and valuable. The obsession with scale can cause creators to ignore the power of depth. 1,000 committed customers may provide more stability than 1,000,000 people who barely care. A small community may produce stronger word of mouth than a large but disconnected audience. Meaningful work is not measured only by reach. It is measured by the quality of the change. A leader helps a group move from one state to another. The group may be small, but the movement can be significant. This is why marketers should define the change clearly before measuring success. What will be different because this work exists? What will customers be able to do, feel, understand, or become? How will the community improve? These questions protect the work from empty measures. Views, followers, traffic, and awareness may be useful indicators, but they are not the final purpose. Attention matters only when it leads to meaningful engagement and change. Marketing as leadership focuses on outcomes, not applause. The work becomes successful when the chosen audience receives the promised benefit and begins carrying the idea forward. That is how change spreads. One person acts, another observes, and a new behavior becomes more normal. A story is repeated, a community grows, and the idea gains momentum. The marketer's greatest contribution is often not the advertisement, but the system that helps people participate. This may include tools, language, examples, rituals, or opportunities for connection. It makes a desired behavior easier to understand and repeat. People become part of the change rather than passive buyers. The strongest marketing creates ownership. Customers feel that the idea belongs to them because it reflects their values and helps them make progress. The business may begin the movement, but the audience gives it life. This is why control must eventually be shared. A community cannot be fully scripted. People interpret the idea in their own ways, create their own stories, and influence one another. A good leader provides direction without demanding complete control. Marketing becomes powerful when it helps people lead one another. The customer who recommends a product becomes a guide. The community member who welcomes someone new becomes a source of trust. The user who shares a successful experience becomes evidence that the change is possible. The audience becomes part of the marketing because the value is real enough to spread. This is not something that can be manufactured through pressure. It must be earned through usefulness and consistency. Leadership, then, is not about being the loudest voice. It is about creating a direction worth following and serving the people who choose to move with you. Innovation provides a new possibility. Empathy ensures that the possibility matters. Responsibility ensures that the change is beneficial. Consistency gives the audience time to trust it. Together, these qualities allow marketing to become more than promotion. It becomes the work of helping people move toward a better choice. To put all of these ideas into practice, a business must begin with discipline. It must resist the temptation to start with tactics. Social media, advertising, email, video, websites, and sales systems are tools. They can help, but they cannot repair a weak foundation. Before choosing a channel, the marketer must be able to answer few essential questions clearly. Who is the work for? What problem matters to them? What change are they seeking? What promise is being made? Why should they trust the person making it? Without these answers, tactics create noise. A business may publish constantly and still remain unclear. It may attract attention but fail to convert that attention into trust. It may gain customers through discounts but lose them because the experience does not match the message. The foundation must come first. The first practical step is to choose the audience. This should not be based only on who is easiest to reach or who has the most money. The business should identify a group it understands and can serve well. The audience must have a meaningful problem, an interest in solving it, and enough connection with others for the idea to spread. A market is not simply a collection of individuals. It is a group of people connected by shared needs, beliefs, and communication. When people influence one another, a strong experience can travel through the group. The next step is to identify the change. The business should be able to describe the customer's current situation and the desired future. The gap between them is where the value exists. A clear change is easier to build around than a vague promise of improvement. Instead of offering better productivity, a service might help a particular group complete important work without constant interruption. Instead of offering financial freedom, a program might help young professionals create a simple system for spending, saving, and reducing anxiety. Specificity creates credibility. The business must then create an offer capable of producing that change. This means designing the product around the customer's experience rather than around internal convenience. What steps feel confusing? Where is trust most fragile? What might prevent the customer from completing the process? What support will make success more likely? These questions turn marketing into product design. The communication should then reflect the same understanding. The message does not need to include every detail. It needs to make the right promise clear. It should help the intended audience recognize themselves and understand the next step. Good communication reduces uncertainty. It answers the questions a customer is already asking. Is this for me? Will it work in my situation? What will happen after I say yes? What risk am I taking? Can I trust this business? The more clearly these concerns are addressed, the less pressure is required. The customer should feel informed rather than chased. After first contact, the business must create a path for continued engagement. This is where permission becomes practical. The person may subscribe, follow, attend, request information, or try a smaller version of the offer. Each step should provide value and make the next step understandable. The relationship should deepen gradually. Not everyone is ready to buy immediately. Some people are interested but uncertain. Others need more evidence or time. A business that treats every interaction as a final sales opportunity may push them away. A patient system allows trust to build. This might involve educational content, demonstrations, useful tools, customer stories, or a clear trial experience. The goal is not to overwhelm people with information. It is to reduce the uncertainty that prevents action. Each interaction should confirm the same story. If the business promises simplicity, the learning process should be simple. If it promises expertise, the information should be accurate and thoughtful. If it promises care, the communication should feel respectful. Consistency turns a message into evidence. Once customers purchase, the experience must deliver the promised change. This is the most important part of the marketing system because every future claim depends on it. A satisfied customer becomes a source of trust. A disappointed customer becomes evidence against the promise. Businesses often focus heavily on the moment of sale, while paying less attention to what happens afterward. But long-term success depends on the result. The onboarding process, delivery, support, and follow-up should all help the customer succeed. A customer who buys but never receives the expected benefit is not a successful outcome. Even if a transaction was profitable, the business should measure the change it promised. Are customers saving time, reducing stress, improving results, or gaining confidence? Are they using the product successfully? Are they returning and recommending it? These measures are more valuable than attention alone. Feedback should then be used carefully. The business should listen most closely to the people it chose to serve. Their experience reveals where the promise is strong and where it is failing. Complaints are not always attacks. They may show a gap between expectation and reality. Questions reveal where communication is unclear. Drop-off points reveal where the process creates too much friction. The goal is not to satisfy every opinion. It is to improve the outcome for the intended audience. This creates a cycle. The business understands the audience, creates an offer, communicates a promise, delivers the experience, learns in the result, and improves. Marketing becomes a continuous process rather than a campaign. A campaign has a beginning and an end. A relationship continues. This long-term view changes priorities. The business becomes less interested in creating temporary excitement and more interested in becoming dependable. Dependability may appear less dramatic, but it is difficult to replace. A trusted business becomes part of the customer's habits. People return because the choice feels safe and familiar. They recommend it because they are confident in the outcome. This is how reputation creates growth. The business does not need to persuade every new customer from the beginning. Existing customers and community members carry part of the story. For this to happen, the experience must be easy to describe. A complicated offer creates complicated recommendations. A clear promise gives customers simple language. They can say who it is for, what it helps with, and why they trust it. The marketer should therefore ask whether the customer can repeat the story. If they cannot, the positioning may be too vague. Practical marketing also requires choosing channels based on behavior rather than popularity. A platform may be fashionable, but that does not mean the intended audience uses it in a meaningful way. The business should go where attention is relevant. An audience of professionals may gather in one place, while local customers may rely on recommendations and search. A younger audience may discover ideas through short videos, while specialized industry may depend more on conferences, communities, and direct relationships. The channel should match the market. The marketer should not confuse the tool with the strategy. A strong idea can travel through many channels. A weak idea remains weak even when promoted skillfully. This keeps the focus on service. Every channel should help the customer understand the change, trust a promise, or experience the value. If an activity does none of these things, it may be only busy work. The business should also protect itself from vanity measurements. Large numbers can create excitement, but they do not always indicate progress. A video may receive many views from people outside the intended audience. A post may gain attention without creating trust. A campaign may generate clicks from customers who will never benefit from the offer. The useful question is whether the right people are moving closer. Are they engaging, asking relevant questions, purchasing, succeeding, returning, and sharing? These actions show that the marketing system is working. The process should remain focused on the smallest viable audience until the promise is strong. Expanding too early can weaken the product and confuse the message. Growth becomes safer when the business already knows what works and why. The original audience provides a foundation. Their language, experiences, and recommendations help the business understand how to reach similar people. Expansion should not mean abandoning focus. It should mean finding more people who share the same need and values. This is how a business grows without losing meaning. The final practical discipline is patience. Trust, reputation, and community take time. There may be pressure to use shortcuts, exaggerated claims, manufactured urgency, or constant discounts. These tactics can produce movement, but they often weaken the long-term relationship. A business must decide whether it is building transactions or trust. Transactions can be counted immediately. Trust is slower and less visible, but it compounds. Every promise kept adds to it. Every useful interaction strengthens it. Every customer success becomes evidence. Over time, the business becomes easier to choose because the market already understands what it stands for. This is a reward of consistent marketing. The work begins with a clear audience and a meaningful change. It grows through empathy, positioning, story, permission, price, and leadership. It becomes sustainable when the promise is delivered repeatedly. Marketing is not a final step added after the product is complete. It is the entire process of designing and delivering value for people who care. When practiced this way, it no longer feels like pressure. It becomes a system for creating trust, helping customers move forward, and building a business that deserves to last. Creating meaningful change requires more than understanding customers or presenting an attractive offer. It requires the willingness to lead people toward a better possibility. This kind of leadership does not depend on authority, size, or public recognition. It begins when someone decides that a certain group of people deserves a better solution and accepts responsibility for helping them find it. Many people wait for the market to tell them exactly what to do. They study what is already popular, copy successful competitors, and try to reduce every possible risk. This approach may produce something acceptable, but it rarely creates work that people care deeply about. When every decision is based on imitation, the result becomes easy to compare and easy to replace. Leadership begins with a point of view. A marketer with a point of view is willing to say that one path is more useful than another. They are willing to design for a particular kind of customer, solve a particular problem, and ignore opportunities that do not support the central purpose. This focus gives the work meaning. A clear point of view does not require arrogance. It does not mean assuming that everyone else is wrong. It means making an informed choice about the change we're creating and serving the people who want that change. Without this clarity, businesses drift. They add features because competitors have them, change their message whenever a new trend appears, and accept every possible customer. Over time, the work becomes less distinctive because the business is no longer protecting a specific promise. The discipline to say no is therefore an important part of leadership. A company that promises simplicity may need to reject requests for endless customization. A service built around personal attention may need to limit the number of clients it accepts. A product designed for beginners may need to avoid adding advanced tools that would make the experience confusing. Saying no can feel like turning away revenue, but it can also protect trust. Customers choose a business because they expect a certain experience. When the company tries to become everything for everyone, that experience weakens. Leadership means knowing what must remain consistent. It also means understanding that change often produces resistance. People may agree that a problem exists and still avoid acting. Familiar discomfort can feel safer than uncertain improvement. The marketer must help customers imagine the new possibility clearly enough that movement feels worthwhile. This is not done through pressure. It is done through clarity, evidence, and repeated demonstration. A person considering a new way of managing money may worry about failure. A business adopting a new process may fear disruption. A professional learning a new skill may fear looking inexperienced. These concerns are real, even when proposed change is useful. The marketer should respect the fear rather than dismiss it. A trustworthy message acknowledges the difficulty and makes the next step manageable. It does not suggest that change will be effortless. It shows that the process has been thoughtfully designed and that the customer will not be left alone with the risk. When people feel understood, they become more willing to move. This is why leadership and empathy must remain connected. Leadership without empathy becomes control. Empathy without leadership may become passive understanding. Meaningful marketing requires both a deep respect for the customer's current reality and a clear belief that a better outcome is possible. Innovation grows from this combination. Innovation does not always mean inventing a completely new category. It can mean removing a frustration that everyone has accepted. It can mean serving an audience that existing companies overlook. It can mean presenting an old solution in a simpler, more accessible, or more respectful way. The important question is not whether the idea has never existed before. The important question is whether the difference creates meaningful value for the audience. A business can appear innovative while solving no important problem. It can use advanced technology, impressive design, and fashionable language without making the customer's life better. Novelty may attract attention, but usefulness creates loyalty. The strongest innovation improves the customer's ability to make progress. Sometimes this improvement is dramatic. More often, it appears in details. A clearer process may reduce hesitation. Better support may increase confidence. A thoughtful explanation may make a complex subject accessible. A reliable experience may remove the anxiety created by uncertainty. These changes may not look revolutionary from the outside, but they can feel significant to the person being served. The marketer must therefore judge innovation through the eyes of the audience. Creators often become attached to what is technically difficult or personally exciting. They may spend time developing features that demonstrate skill, but do not improve the customer's outcome. The result could be impressive and irrelevant at the same time. Empathy protects against this mistake. It asks whether the innovation solves a real problem, supports a desired change, and fits the customer situation. If it does not, it may be unnecessary complexity. Simple solutions are often more difficult to create because simplicity requires careful choices. The business must decide what to remove, what to emphasize, and what the customer truly needs. This process involves responsibility. Every product and message influences behavior. A business may encourage patience or impulsiveness, confidence or insecurity, understanding or confusion. Marketing is not neutral simply because a customer is free to choose. The way choices are presented still matters. Responsible marketing asks whether the business will be proud if customers fully understood how the system worked. Would the promise still feel fair? Would the price still make sense? Would the urgency still be justified? Would the customer remain satisfied after the excitement of the purchase disappeared? These questions reveal whether the business is creating real value or only creating pressure. A short-term transaction can hide a weak relationship. A customer may buy because of fear, manipulation, or exaggerated expectations. The sale may appear successful, but disappointment will follow when reality fails to match the message. Long-term marketing judges success differently. It asks whether customers are glad they made the choice. It asks whether they receive the promised benefit, whether they would return, and whether they would recommend experience without being paid. This is a higher standard, but it produces a stronger business. When customers are satisfied, they become part of the proof. Their experience makes the promise more believable to others. Trust spreads through real results rather than louder claims. This creates a system in which marketing and product quality support each other. The business attracts the right people with a clear promise. The product delivers a change. The customer shares the experience. The reputation makes future decisions easier. The process continues because each stage strengthens the next. To build the system, the business must begin with a precise understanding of the audience. It should know not only who they are, but what they are trying to accomplish, what prevents them from acting, and what kind of proof they trust. The next step is to define the change clearly. A vague promise such as improvement, success, freedom, or growth is difficult to evaluate. The customer needs to understand what will become different. Will the offer save time, simplify a decision, create confidence, reduce risk, improve a skill, or strengthen a relationship? The change should be specific enough to guide both the product and the communication. Once the change is clear, every part of the experience should be designed around it. If the goal is to create confidence, the process should reduce confusion. If the goal is convenience, unnecessary steps should be removed. If the goal is premium quality, the service should remain consistent from the first contact to the final delivery. The product must behave like the promise. This alignment is what turns communication into trust. Customers begin to believe the business because each interaction confirms the same idea. The business should then create a simple path for people to move forward. The first step should not demand more commitment than the customer is ready to give. Some people may need information. Others may need evidence, a demonstration, a conversation, or a small trial. A thoughtful path gives customers enough confidence to take the next reasonable step. This is more effective in treating every person as if they must buy immediately. Pressure often appears when a business lacks patience. The company wants results quickly, so every message becomes urgent. Customers are pushed toward decisions before trust has formed. A patient business understands that different people move at different speeds. It continues showing up with useful information, clear examples, and consistent behavior. It allows a customer to become familiar with the promise. Over time, familiarity reduces uncertainty. Permission makes this continued relationship possible. When people choose to hear from a business, the business gains opportunity to serve them repeatedly. That opportunity should be protected. Every message should have a purpose. It may answer a question, offer useful insight, show a result, or help a person understand the next step. Communication that exists only to demand attention gradually weakens permission. A useful standard is whether the audience would notice if the communication disappeared. If the answer is no, the business has not yet become valuable enough. If people would miss the clarity, education, encouragement, or connection, the relationship has become meaningful. This is why consistency matters more than constant novelty. A business does not need to create an entirely new identity every week. It needs to reinforce the same useful promise in different ways. The audience should gradually understand what the company stands for. Consistency should not become boredom. The examples, formats, and delivery can change. What remains stable is the central purpose. The stability builds recognition. People know whom to recommend. They understand what kind of problem the business solves. They remember the story when someone in their community needs help. Clear marketing makes word of mouth easier. A customer should be able to explain the offer in simple language. They should be able to say who it is for, what it helps them achieve, and why they trust it. When the story is too complicated, recommendations weaken. People may like the product, but struggle to describe it. The marketer should therefore remove unnecessary language. Clever words are less valuable than clear meaning. Clarity respects the audience's time. It also helps the business make better decisions. When a promise is clear, new opportunities can be evaluated against it. The company can ask whether a partnership, feature, campaign, or customer group strengthens a mission or distracts from it. This protects focus as a business grows. Growth can be helpful, but it can also create pressure to abandon the smallest viable audience. A company may begin chasing larger markets, adding unrelated products, or changing its values to increase reach. More attention does not always produce more impact. A business can grow in size while becoming less trusted. It can gain customers while losing the qualities that made it remarkable. The right kind of growth extends a value without destroying it. This may mean serving more people who share the same need. It may mean improving systems to let quality remain consistent. It may mean creating new offers that support the same audience at different stages. Growth should strengthen the promised change. When growth weakens the experience, the business must reconsider the direction. Long-term success is not only about becoming larger, it is about remaining useful, sustainable, and trusted. This requires choosing meaningful measurements. Views, clicks, impressions, and followers can provide information, but they do not prove that the work is successful. A campaign can attract attention from people who will never become customers. A post can become popular without creating trust. The most useful measurements are connected to the promised outcome. Are the right people responding? Are customers completing the process successfully? Are they returning? Are they referring others? Is the problem becoming easier for them to solve? These questions reveal whether the business is creating real change. A marketer should not ignore numbers, but should choose numbers that reflect purpose. The same principle applies to failure. If a campaign does not perform as expected, the answer is not always more promotion. The problem may be the audience, the promise, the product, the positioning, or the experience. A disciplined marketer investigates the full system. They ask whether the intended audience truly cares about the problem. They examine whether the offer creates enough value. They study whether the message is clear and whether the experience supports the claim. This approach prevents the business from blaming customers or chasing tactics. Marketing works best as a process of learning. The marketer forms belief about the audience, creates an offer, observes a response, and improves. Each cycle should produce a deeper understanding. This learning never ends because markets, people, and expectations continue to change. However, the central principle remains stable. Serve a specific group by creating a meaningful change. Everything else supports that work. The greatest lesson is that marketing is not something done to people. It is something done for them. It begins with a decision to understand rather than interrupt. It continues through the discipline of choosing whom to serve. It becomes visible through positioning, story, price, and experience. It grows through trust, permission, and community. At every stage, the marketer has a choice. They can chase attention or earn it. They can manipulate fear or reduce uncertainty. They can exaggerate value or create it. They can search for quick transactions or build relationships that last. The generous choice is usually slower, but it creates something more durable. Trust accumulates. A promise kept today makes tomorrow's promise easier to believe. A customer helped today becomes evidence for someone else. A useful idea shared consistently becomes part of a community's way of thinking. This is how marketing creates change. It does not require everyone to participate. It requires enough of the right people to care. Those people can support the work, improve it through feedback, and carry the story forward. The smallest viable audience is not a limitation. It is a foundation from which meaningful influence grows. When a business serves an audience well, it no longer needs to beg for attention from everyone. It becomes important to someone. That importance creates resilience. Competitors may appear with lower prices or louder advertising, but trust cannot be duplicated quickly. A strong relationship is built from many experiences, and those experiences create memory. The customer remembers how the business made the process easier, kept its promise, and treated them with respect. This memory becomes part of the value. The work of marketing, therefore, continues long after sale. Every delivery, response, improvement, and decision contributes to the story. There is no separate moment when marketing ends and operations begin. The entire organization participates in keeping the promise. A support team that solves a problem strengthens brand. A clear refund process strengthens it. A product improvement based on customer feedback strengthens it. Honest communication during a mistake may strengthen it more than pretending the mistake never happened. The business is always teaching customers what to expect. When expectations are handled responsibly, trust grows. The final responsibility belongs to the marketer. They must decide what kind of change they want their work to create, and whether that change is worth creating. Marketing tools are powerful. They can influence desire, identity, status, and behavior. Using them well requires more than skill. It requires judgment. The marketer should ask whether the work helps people become who they want to become. Does it increase their freedom, confidence, understanding, connection, or ability to act? Or does it depend on keeping them afraid, dissatisfied, and dependent? The answer shapes the kind of business being built. Meaningful marketing is an act of service. It recognizes that people have problems, hopes, and choices. It creates something useful, explains it honestly, and delivers the promised result. It does not treat customers as numbers. It treats them as people whose progress matters. This approach may not produce instant fame or universal attention. It may require patience, focus, and the courage to disappoint those outside the chosen audience, but it offers a more reliable path. Choose a group you understand. Identify a problem worth solving. Create a change they genuinely value. Tell a story that respects their worldview. Set a price that supports the promise. Earn permission to continue the relationship. Deliver consistently enough for trust to spread. Then, keep improving the work. That is the real discipline. Marketing is not the art of making people want what a business has already created. It is the practice of caring enough to create something people are glad to choose. When this becomes a foundation, business changes. Selling becomes less forceful because the offer is relevant. Communication becomes clearer because the audience is known. Growth becomes more sustainable because it is supported by trust. Customers become more loyal because the experience matches the story. The business no longer asks how to capture everyone. It asks how to serve someone so well that the work becomes worth remembering, worth returning to, and worth sharing. That is how trust is built. That is how value becomes visible. And that is how marketing becomes a force for meaningful and lasting change. Here is the real test. Not what you learned today, but what you do next. Take 60 seconds right now. Grab a pen or open a note on your phone. Write one sentence. My product is for blank and it helps them become blank. Not everyone. Not anyone who needs it. One clear group. One clear change. Can you not finish that sentence yet? That is not a failure. That is your next step. Go find that one person, talk to them. Learn their fear. Learn their hope. Build something small enough to matter to them first, before you try to matter to everyone. This is how trust gets built, one honest promise at a time. This is how a business stops selling and starts being chosen. Seth Godin did not write this book to be admired. He wrote it to be used. So use it. Today, not someday. If this summary gave you one idea you can apply this week, that already makes it worth sharing. Subscribe to Wealth Simplified so you never miss the next real case or the next real framework. Hit like if this changed how you see marketing. And in the comments tell us, who is your someone? We read every answer. See you in the next one.